Hey guys, TheUziGunner here, and welcome to SPL Draft Notes for Round 1 of Playoffs, the show about everything and anything SPL related. If you guys do enjoy today's breakdown of the matchups and the playoff games to come, be sure to drop a like on the video as well as subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 3,000 subscribers, and everybody who watches this video drops a sub, we should hit there today, so I would really appreciate it. Really quick, I mentioned in the Discord server, I'm sorry there was no week 8 video. It was Thanksgiving week, as all of you know, last week, and I was very busy between work and holiday preparations. I just didn't have the time, so unfortunately I wasn't able to get it up. We should be good going forward, and the next season I should be having my slides be automated by the GOAT CB Marcus, so that'll cut down on 3 to 4 hours of prep time a week that I spend on these videos, because it takes a long time for me to do all the graphics. So again, look forward to that. I do apologize, like I said, but we should be good going forward. There's only 4 matchups this week, 4 matchups this week, 2 next week, and then 1 in the final week, so we should be in the home stretch. And yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and look over the week 8 scores. Alrighty, so we can go ahead and talk about the games. First up, we had Emvee versus Joey, a much awaited matchup. Emvee catching his first loss, though I feel as if he definitely wasn't bringing his A game or his #1 team. Emvee was obviously 100% locked for playoffs at this point. Joey needed to not get, I think, 6-0'd basically, so they're both basically locked in this game. Joey was able to win in a nice 4-0 fashion, but it was really cool seeing the deli bird pop off and Emvee bring some cool stuff. The fling tomato was also very funny, obviously, but I feel like he's saving his cards just in case they have that rematch in the playoffs. Then we had a very big game in Vivid versus Druby. Both coaches needing to win to have a shot of making playoffs, and Vivid able to clinch his playoff spot with a 3-0 victory over Druby, which I'm sure he was very excited about. Another game where a coach could clinch their playoff chances in CBAD versus Kyle. This is a game that mattered for, again, them, but as well as other people such as Nexus, whereas CBAD was able to take home a 6-0 victory. Iron Bundle absolutely popping off. CBAD playing very aggressively this game, actually refusing to switch out his Pokemon, and end up catching Kyle really off guard in the game, and he was able to take home a 6-0 dominant victory, giving himself a lot of momentum going into playoffs. Obviously, when we mention the CBAD game, we kind of have to mention the Nexus game, because Nexus really wanted Kyle to win this one, because it gave him a shot of sneaking into playoffs if he ended up, ending with a better diff than CBAD and a couple other things. Nexus was able to play really well. Took himself to a nice 4-0 victory here against Danny, moving his record to 3-5 with pretty decent differential. I forget the exact number off the top of my head, but unfortunately he was not able to sneak into playoffs, as there wasn't really any other 3-4 teams who lost and brought themselves down to 3-5 to where they could drop below him in differential. Next up, we have Viz versus Mefesto. This was just a meme game. We saw the Terranormal Dragonair pop off, basically become Big Dragonite, but coaches were just messing around. Again, 2 coaches who actually will be playing in round 1 of playoffs, we'll talk about that a little bit later on, that didn't really want to reveal their cards in the game, which definitely makes sense. Then we have Uzi versus the Carolina Hackers and Leo. Uzi taking home a 1-0 victory, really trying to get that Sudowoodo to work. He probably would have had better differential if he was just obviously playing the game more objectively, but I appreciate him trying to get big Sudowoodo some highlights and some screen time. That was definitely a really fun game to watch. Yeah, the Bullet Punch Club were still able to take home a 1-0 victory, moving into playoffs. And then lastly, we had Thomas versus Shuckle King here, where Thomas was able to take home a 3-0 victory on the back of a pretty cool Galarian Slow King set, being Covert Cloak and really facilitating the rest of that team very well. Shuckle unfortunately losing out on any chance in playoffs. Now, you can see our pick'em score for the season. I didn't have the chance to obviously do last week's pick'ems for next week, but when taking into account our score from week 6 going into week 7, and then the pick'ems I did, I'll throw them on screen if I remember, that I did in the Discord server, we ended up the season going 34-22, 12 games over 500, so I will definitely take that, especially because I've been trying to kind of do them objectively based on matchup, opposed to necessarily maybe player skill, perceived player skill, or if a player's playing really hot and things like that. Let me know in the comments if you'd prefer I kind of just pick who I think wins regardless of matchup, or if you prefer stick to a little bit more objective and to the matchups and things like that. But either way, we're able to end 34-22, which I will for sure take. Now from here, we're just going to jump right into the playoff matchups. At the end of the video, I do have a really cool interview section with one of our playoff coaches, and you'll see that. So we are skipping the highlights, because a lot of the games last week, they were more so kind of formality games, and there wasn't super crazy. But yeah, I'll go ahead, jump into the matchups, and then we'll do the interview at the end. For our first game, Joey selected CBAD in this one, and on Joey's side, is it Apple time again? I know it just came in its season debut, I think last week against Emvee, but Terra Steel is a very viable option in this matchup in order to check that bundle and really not take much damage from it at all, really becoming an incredible check to that Pokemon. So I could definitely see that happening, as well as just being a good SPDF pivot into things like Hydreigon, which can give this team a little bit of trouble if Clefable doesn't come, or things like Alolan Raichu and things of the sort. So I could definitely see Apple coming and being a big nuisance for CBAD's team, but the main big threat is of course going to be that Dragapult. There really isn't counterplay to a Specs Pult in this matchup. Dragon moves are very free, and Shadow Balls are also incredibly, even more so free really, because we have one immunity in Persian, which does not switch in. Gets absolutely blown up by a Draco, Dragon Balls, whatever, right? But we also have the option of switching into something like Hydreigon, again, blown up by a Draco. And then something like Quillfish, which can take a Shadow Ball decently well, but that in conjunction with hazards and having no reliable recovery, a really way of keeping itself healthy at all with CBAD's more inherently offensive team, makes this thing really scary to spam Shadow Ball. And if there's no Klefki, there's no reason to not spam Draco at all. And that's kind of the crux of having your Fairy and your Steel in one roll, is it is that Dragon check, and if it does not check it sufficiently, it's going to be a bad time for the team. And I think Pult just goes absolutely dumb, stupid, crazy in this game. I think Heatran is also really important. Rocks are very valuable here. Either Heatran or Clef need to come as a solid rocker, because the biggest threat from CBAD's side, in my opinion, is going to be that Ogerpon, but Rocks itself will kind of invalidate that Pokemon and make it a non-factor in a lot of instances. So I think that keeping those Rocks up, getting them up, and keeping them up is going to be very paramount for Joey's success in this game. Quackleval also goes pretty insane. Really, the only check to that thing is going to be the Cresselia, and I think Cresselia has a pretty terrible matchup between the Pult, between the Overquill absolutely walling it, and even between things like Heatran taunting it, between things like the Appletun being able to leash it or Apple Acid it down, like the Prankster Encore from the Grafai Eye. Like, there's not a lot of opportunity for Cresselia to really get anything going. That kind of saps the momentum, if anything, if it's forced to come in, Moonlight, switch, come in, Moonlight, switch. It's really not going to have a good time, and there's obviously tech options that Quackleval can run in order to deal with Cresselia, so I'm not super keen on Crest coming, and if that is the case, I think that Quackleval goes absolutely insane. It gets a Swords Dance and Knocker Step, and the game might be over. It really might be over, unless it's like a booster bundle, unless it's like an Electric Seed Halucha that has a pop because the terrain is up, unless there's like a T-Waving Klefki in the back. There's not much that deals with it once it gets up that SD Aqua Step. It absolutely cleaves to this team and is really scary. Then, obviously, I like Clefable. I think Clefable is a great Hydreigon check. It also has the potential of wishing into members like Overquill, into members like Heatran, even into members like Dragapult, but obviously really nice. And then a Overquill is going to be really paramount. Another really great hazard setter in this game, checks the Cresselia incredibly well, gets up spikes, and is a big nuisance overall. Now, from CBAD's side, this matchup is pretty even. I know I just kind of gassed up Joey's team, but CBAD's offense looks insane. Like, in particular, we mentioned already, Ogerpon's a monster. Dual Status Flare Ruff kills everything. And especially with, like, Ivy Cudgel being a high crit move, one, it can break through the Overquill trying to intimate and just absolutely nuke it with a crit into a regular hit. Will always kill Overquill, pretty much. And then Heatran obviously can't really avoid that Ivy Cudgel. You can run Stomping Tantrum for it if you want, but you're going to 2-hit KO buddy with an Ivy Cudgel. Like, you're going to. I think either just, like, 4 attacks with Stomping Tantrum, Play Rough, Power Whip, Ivy Cudgel, or you take off a Stomping Tantrum for a Trailblaze to be able to win in the end game. Man, it does not look good. This thing goes absolutely insane. The Mold Breaker in particular is going to be great in this game too. It also makes it to where like an Unaware Clef can't really check you if you are a Swords Dance variant, but I don't think you really have the slots for Swords Dance personally. Still, goes absolutely insane. Definitely a big threat in this game. Bundle is great in this game as a flip turn facilitator. It really does get in that Ogerpon at a million different instances. Again, the checks to the bundle are going to be things like maybe a SPDF Clefable, maybe a SPDF Appletun, maybe even like a random Chimecho. I don't know if he actually takes 2, but he might. Things like that, right? They might be able to switch in a bundle, and even then, bundle looks really scary with hazards up. Like, Specs goes insane. But I think it flip turning and getting into something like the Ogerpon is going to make for a recipe of disaster for Joey's team here. It's going to be absolutely terrifying in this matchup. I think Donphan needs to be able to spin. I think you even can potentially go like either Assault Vest or Heavy Duty Boots with Sturdy. You need to be able to keep rocks away consistently. You might even want to bring a Defog Halucha in that case, because if rocks are up, your game plan is shot. I don't think Bundle wants boots this game. I really wants the power from Specs, in my opinion. I think Specs is an absolute nuke here. And Ogerpon obviously can't avoid rocks. So rocks being up is a death sentence for CBAD. He needs to be able to spin them away. And an offensive Donphan is not going to particularly invite a Dragapult in. Pult's not going to want to come in and take an Adamant Earthquake or an Adamant knockoff into an Ice Shard. It's just not going to, especially with how good Pult is. So if you can keep Donphan around and healthy, you can get spins off. Like, you can get spins off for sure. So yeah, definitely a really, really big one. And then terrain offense looks good. Whether it be Pincurchin getting up the Electric Chain for Halucha to sweep with the Swords Dance later in the game, if Clefable is sufficiently dealt with and it's not unaware or something like that. Or you could go Mold Breaker SD. You know, Halucha. That's definitely a very viable option. SD Brave Bird with Mold Breaker, really strong. But more so that alone, Raichu, Terra Fairy is really strong here. It's a really, really strong Pokemon. It does a lot of damage to a lot of things, and gives some pretty cool key resistances. And Terra Blast is gonna blow up the what do you call it? Dragapult as well, which is obviously really, really nice. Looks really, really powerful in this game. Overall, I am going to give this matchup to Joey, but I do think that CBAD has the tools to win this game. This is a very offensive matchup. I think whoever positions their offense better, for Joey, it's going to be getting in that Pult, winning with Quack, in my opinion. And then from CBAD, it's going to be chipping things down with the likes of Raichu and Bundle, and getting in that Ogerpon to win while keeping hazards away. But yeah, we're going to go aim in this one. Next up, we have Emvee versus Vivid in another matchup. Emvee choosing Vivid here as the 1 seed. For those of you who don't know, they have like a playoff picking system, which makes it really exciting because the top-end coaches who do really well in the league, they get to kind of pick and choose their playoff matchup depending on what they want. So it's not always 1 versus 8, if you guys were wondering. But from Vivid's side, as we have him on the left, we'll start off with him. Chiyu goes insane. I think either Scarf or Specs is ridiculous. I think Scarf is a little bit better here, just because guaranteed outspeeding Manaphy, as well as outpacing mons like Sneasler, Espeon, and Thundurus is very valuable in my opinion. You can't get T-Wave by the Thundy either. You can kind of come in and click Dark Pulse the whole game. Really, the only check to this thing is going to be something like a Goodra, and then maybe Dodun. If it's not Specs, Specs does get to it KO'd, like Specs, Dodun gets, or Specs Chiyu to a KO's Dodun. But with a little bit of chip, it obviously can break it down and whittle it down pretty fastly. And it can force into passive U-turn scenarios. And there's definitely pivots into the Dunsparce. So I think Scarf is really, really good here. All you have to do is force in that Goodra a couple times, get a couple Dark Pulses off. If you get up Rocks and Spikes, it's really not going to appreciate over the course of the game. So I really like it as a breaker. Goldango is going to be a great Sneasler check. You can go potential Resist Berry, like a Cassid Berry for Shadow Claws. I forget if it gets Night Slash. You might have to decide which one's better against you. Which both aren't great, to be fair. I think it might be Night Slash because there's no immunities like there is with Cyclozar, but I really don't know, to be completely honest. There's nothing else on Vivid's team that Ghost actually hits or Dark actually hits, so that's gonna be interesting. Shadow Claw has better neutral click, so probably Shadow Claw, to be honest. But the Sneasler looks like a big, big issue, so a potential Goldango is going to check that thing incredibly, incredibly well. It's also going to keep hazards up, and I think hazards are going to be a big key for Vivid in this game. Greninja also looks incredible. I think it's a great win con. You can go mix with low kick in order to break down the Goodra. You can also use this as a breaker to win with Scarf Chiyu, or you can use Specs Chiyu to win with Gren later on and forego low kick and just go a full special variant. If you're convinced that you're going to chip down that very likely AV Goodra, that's obviously very, very nice. Low kick also hits to Dunsparce, which is something else to keep in mind though, is why I kind of mention it here. And Spadef Abomasnow looks really solid as a great, great Manaphy check and a great Espeon check, to be completely honest. Like a physical Abomasnow really checks both those guys, or mixed. You go Blizzard because Blizzard hits a lot of things, like Blizzard, Woodhammer, Ice Shard, and then fourth move. Definitely looks really, really solid in this game, so I definitely like Abomasnow a lot. Now, as for Emvee's side, I think that Thundy goes insane with Thunderbolt, Grass Knot, Focus Blast, and really that's all it needs. All that there's going to be for that Pokemon is, I don't know, to be completely honest. Offensive pressure. That's all I can think of. Maybe an AV Terra Electric Poliwrath can definitely check that decently well. But I mean, other than that, there's really not much Thundy counterplay on this team. It can definitely win the game. Sneasler grabs some insane momentum and forces very specific switches. It's always going to be the Goldango. You can go ahead and get a U-turn on that, get into your Luna, you can get into Manaphy to set up, you can get into Thundy to set up a nasty plot even if you'd like, or just off a strong Thunderbolt. You're going to be in a pretty good spot. So I think that Sneasler is going to be a great facilitator here. SPL also looks really strong with Terra Fairy. Goldango has a lot of pressure on it, so if we can use the Sneasler to aptly pressure it, even if we're using Sneasler to Swords Dance, Shadow Claw, break it down low so that we can pop a Cassid Berry, and then our Shadow Ball SPL can revenge it and do a lot of damage to everything else, that's obviously very, very valuable, so I really like that. Luna has very little counterplay. Again, there's not much that switches into it. You can go AV to check, Chiyu Gold and Lure Greninja, or you can just go like a really offensive variant, maybe Calm Mind. But I really like Assault Vest in this game, to be completely honest, because I really feel like you like the coverage, the immense coverage that it has. You go like Blood Moon, Earth Power, Vacuum Wave, then like Fourth Move, Moonblast, potentially. But again, very, very powerful in this battle, and I think the big key is going to be forcing a Bombastone chip, because I think Mana can win if done so. I think that Emvee team just has a lot of pressure offensively. I think you bring some variation of the top 7 or top 8. Again, there's a lot of options that he can really go for. I don't think Weezing, so maybe top 5 or Luna, Sneasler, Manaphy, Goodra, Espeon, and then Thundy, Dodun. You swap one of those in and out, and you're in a pretty good spot. I really do like it. I also think that potentially bringing Rocks to Dodun is going to be valuable, despite being the only rocker on this team. If it doesn't respect that and he doesn't bring any removal and is a Scarf Chiyu, obviously rocks are going to be huge. If he is like an Assault Vest Abomasnow, rocks are going to be huge. So that's something to keep in mind. I am going to take Emvee in this matchup. I think his offense is a little bit overwhelming for Vivid, but I do see angles for Vivid to take this one home if he, can position himself right. Then, next up, we have Visually versus Mefesto here in a rematch of Week A, but thankfully, neither coach showed their cards, so he definitely has some cool things. Now, I say that, but at the same time, Viz, one of his meme sets I actually think did really well in this matchup in general, and that's going to be Special Dragonite, or even a mixed set with Ironhead. Hits his team very hard and is very annoying to switch into. The combination of, like, Hurricane, Ice Beam, Flamethrower, Ironhead hits a lot of things really freaking hard and can do a lot of damage to this team and be a big, big nuisance. Rock Polish Glamora can be a great win condition for Viz. The move Power Gem is unbelievably free in this matchup. Or there's a potential of like a Choice Specs Glim. I know it sounds very odd to bring Choice Specs Glim, but if you can find a position to get that thing in and just click Power Gem or Sludge Wave, you're going to be in a good position. There's not great switches to this thing. Otherwise, even a Scarf set to lure things like Cinderace who think they can Iron Head and knock you out, or Zen Headbutt and knock you out, you can throw off a big Power Gem, pick it off. It's a revenge killer to Zapdos. You outspeed the Samurott. As long as you outrange a Sucker or Aqua Jet, you're good. They're always forced out by Scizor anyway, so I think Scarf Respect, actually, the more I like talk about it out loud, I think those sets go absolutely crazy in this game. I think Terra Jolteon is probably going to be the Terra captain in this game, as it grabs really free momentum into things like Glamora, which is obviously really, really nice. And obviously, we can threaten things like Sandaconda with a Terra Blast and force it to Terra, which again takes away Power Gem immunities and resists and things like that. Or if it is forced to Terra, we're in a good spot. We can kind of just Volt Switch around and things like that. So there's also a potential angle of Terra Electric Jolteon here, in my opinion. So yeah, definitely a very, very strong Pokemon here. And then Annihilate. Annihilate's always good, but I really struggle with the set here. I think either you run like a Resist Berry for either Zapdos and Cobra Berry, or the Gengar and Cassid Berry. Probably Cassid Berry is more likely. Or you run like an Assault Vest set, which seems interesting. Again, I feel like I've shadowed Assault Vest Ape a lot. That might just be a me thing. I really like that thing. I think it's actually a really, really slept on set when it comes to Ape. I think it does really well here when you have dual special attacking threats that can threaten you for a lot of damage. You can probably take one from each of those back to back and kill both of them. Like Gengar comes in, it Shadow Balls you kill with Rage Fist, then the Zapdos comes in, Hurricanes, you kill with Rage Fist, and you're chilling in a really good spot. So I definitely think that AV is a very viable angle from Viz here. So yeah. Then, as for Mefesto's side, Hammerot has no switch-ins. Shouts to Addison, she's going to get really upset that I said it again, but Hammerot has absolutely no switches between its dual stabs. You can go a banded set. You can also just go with like, just a 4 attack set. Item can be Resist Berry. It can be potentially like a Life Orb. It can be Black Blasters or Mystic Water or something like that. You can go an SD variant, but the combination of Razor Shell plus Ceaseless Edge is really, really strong. You can also go Aqua Jet and then Swords Dance. Actually, I really like Swords Dance the more I talk about it. So I think that's a very, very very viable option, incredibly strong. There's also no Cinderace switching outside of the D-Knight, which can very, very viably get Wisped, or just get U-turned on, break its multi-scale, and get into something that threatens it immediately, which can be really, really cool. It's a great way of forcing in that D-Knight and breaking that multi-scale. And Wisp is another reason why I kind of mentioned special D-Knight, because I think it might have to take that, a lot like Drewby's team, where his Salamence was likely to take a Will-O-Wisp, as well. Zapdos and Gengar can really overwhelm Tinglu in standard Annihilate sets. So again, not AV sets, but I think like the combination of those dual special attacking threats alongside Samurott and Cinderace are going to be really overwhelming for Tinglu to really stay healthy in this game, especially if Samurott is getting up spikes as it's supposed to in this matchup. If it does that, Tinglu's going to have a rough time. It's just not going to have a good time at all. So I definitely think it's a really, really viable option in this game to bring those strong special attackers despite the Tinglu, because they can really get out of hand. But Simeon also feels very good as a, Terramon, grabbing momentum, being a strong physical attacker that really chips down a lot of things. It's also very anti-webs. If you bring Scarf, you still have your normal speed tier, and you're getting that Defiant boost, and you're killing something. You're very strong in this game, so that's a very, very viable option. Sandaconda can come, but I don't think it should Terra. In my opinion, I think you bring both those Terramons and you never Terra your Sandaconda, because you really want that pure ground typing this week with the Jolteon and things of the sort. So probably don't Terra. You also don't want to lose your Power Gen resistance, in my opinion. But yeah, I think Mefesto's offense overall just feels way too strong into Viz's team. I think Viz has some cool options, like we said, the Glamora, like we said, the Jolteon, and like the mix/special D-Knight. But I am going to lean Mefesto in this matchup. Then our last matchup for round 1 is going to be the Bullet Punch Club versus the Copenhagen Gallades, and UziGunner versus Thomas. Now, as for Uzi's side, holy great Tusk. I mean, what deals with this thing? The combination, it's just 4 attacks. You just bring Stabs, Ice Spinner, and then you can bring Knockoff. You can bring Rapid Spin just to get the speed boost. Like, really, you could just bring Ice Spinner, Stabs, and go from there, and you're in a really good position. I think when it comes to the item, you just go a Resist Berry, maybe a Yachi Berry, maybe a Pasho Berry, something of the sorts. And then on top of that, you could also just go Weakness Policy. You get up a Rapid Spin, and you get up that Weakness Pizzy. The game's over, bro. You could also go a Rindo Berry for the Zarude. Like, there's so many options for this Tusk, but as long as you're just 4 attacks and clicking buttons, you're going to kill things. There's nothing that Thomas can do to stop this Pokemon from massacring his team. Absolutely dumpstering it. Shuka Empo also seems very solid. I think that you're kind of forced into Shuka. You could be Chople, expecting it to be a potential like Brick Break variant or something of the sorts, but I think that Shuka is better because it also covers Gliscor, which is really, really solid. And obviously Earthquake's a little bit stronger. You'll live a +1 or a +2 Brick Break if you're Fizz Def. It's also a great rocker, but it can potentially revenge things like the backs, and obviously can like Ice Beam mons like the Gliscor and the Zarude, and you can obviously Surf, and just be a general nuisance in this game, and a really good defensive pivot. Ursaluna, obviously, if Great Test does well, Ursaluna's probably going to do well as well when it comes to, like, offensively. Like, again, Thomas' team does not deal with ground types very well. He does not have a conventional ground resist. It's Rude, which gets blown up by Facade. His immunity and Gliscor gets blown up by Facade. There is the option, if Uzi does not respect the Spirit Tomb, to go Air Balloon Spirit Tomb, to be immune to Headlong and Facade, or, Earthquake and Facade, just same difference, obviously. So I think that's a potential option that he has to be ready for. But I think overall, the defensive core of Shaman and Empo is also very, very strong. Not easy for Thomas to break through. And then obviously Cerulege looks really strong as well. It's Ghost plus Fire rips Thomas's team. It rips most teams, but it rips Thomas's team. As for Thomas, I think Excalibur has huge snowball potential. It can super win after just 1 DD if the Empo is chipped. 1 DD or 1 SD and a Scale Shot, and it can totally take this game home. There's not great means of revenging it on this team in general. So I definitely think that Bax has a great matchup. Sugar Glowking also feels really strong to either lure the Great Tusk, to potentially lure a weakened Ursaluna, or you could even go OTR. I think there's a lot of things you could potentially set up a Trick Room on and get up a Trick Room, be really, really strong that way. You could go like Psychic, Sludge Bomb, and like maybe a Grass Knot for the Ursaluna specifically. You could also go potentially Surf as well if you want to hit Cerulege and the Ursaluna very hard. I think that's a very viable option, is OTR, Glow King. Toro's Bull looks really strong as well. You just stabs plus EQ, and nothing switches into it. You can go Banded, you can go Bulk Up, you can go Trailblaze or Flame Charge in the matchup. Probably Trailblaze, to be completely honest. And again, another weakness policy bond. I mean, Shaman tries to Earth Power you. Cool, I'm good. There's mons like the Great Tusk, which if you EV correctly, you might be able to live a hit from that thing at -1. Probably not the Ursaluna, but maybe the Great Tusk, obviously. Or Terrawater Killo, that's another thing you live a hit from. And Polion with Surf, you can definitely live a hit from. You're also a great Weavile check too, so you could use it as a Weavile check. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Weavile doesn't come, because there's also the Azumarill, which is going to be a great Weavile check. It also soft checks mons like Tusk, it soft checks mons like Ceruledge, and it can threaten the Ursaluna. You don't switch into Ursaluna, but you can threaten it. You can definitely take one Facade if you're bulky enough, but I think there's definitely an angle for defensive like Rocky Helmet Azu to really deal with those mons like Tusk, but especially the Weavile in this matchup. Overall, I am going to lead Uzi in this matchup. I think that his Great Tusk and his Ceruledge and his Ursaluna and his Kilowattrel and his Gardevoir and all these crazy threats just really overwhelm Thomas. Now, it pains me to pick Uzi though, because I'm actually going to be talking with Thomas right after this battle. We're going to get a quick little interview talking about his experience in the SPL so far, as well as get some exclusive, never before seen thoughts on the matchup itself, so you'll get some exclusive team building content before the battles go up in a couple days. Go ahead, stick around for that. We'll jump into that next. Alright guys, here we are with the man of the hour. We're here with Thomas. Do you want to say what's up?
What up everybody, GentlemanThomas here, just here to do, a little quick interview.
A little quick one. So first, I want to start off with easiest question is, how has Season 1 of SPL been? I mean, this has been a really cool league, a lot of really, really cool and prominent creators and players in the scene. How has the season been? Is there any standout moments for you in particular?
So Owen, I'm just going to be frank here. Owen gave me the questions a little bit ahead, so I had some time to think. And honestly, I think there's like two very different ways you can look at it. There's the competitive aspect, and there's like the more of familiarity and getting friendships and whatnot aspect. And I think competitive, I of course started out amazing. Like getting on a 4-game win streak really just boosted the confidence throughout the entire season. Even when I went on a little bit of a loss streak, I still believed I had what it took to, get to playoffs, and
you knew you had
it. Exactly, like I knew I had it. And honestly, I think SPL has been one of the leagues where I have played the best. Even the games I lost, there was really only one game where I played really badly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the other games, I, despite losing, still felt I played well. And the games I won, I felt like I kind of not dominated, but I knew what I was doing. I knew what my game plan was, basically.
Yeah, never felt like you were in a spot where you're like, oh no, I don't know if this is going to work out. Like you felt in control in your
exactly.
in your wins and stuff like that. No, that's something I definitely noticed as well when you were playing. And I think that's something that people don't recognize too. When you come into these leagues, there's a big nerves factor in any Wi-Fi league really, but especially in a league like SPL, there's a big nerves factor. So being able to go in, calm, and collect is definitely a skill in its own right, outside of knowing what you're doing. Like, you take as many mocks as humanly possible, but then you get in the game, if you freeze up, you're not gonna, it doesn't matter anymore. So, yeah, is there any standout moments this season where you're like, wow, this was awesome, or I'm so proud of this play that I made, or this game in particular, anything like that?
So I think my week 1 was really good because I was almost the only one, me and the people I prep with, that realized how good Sarut would be if we could get rid of Mandibus. Now Mandibus never came to week 1, so it automatically just became good. But other than that, Sarut went absolutely wild in that game. Like he's dominated completely.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that was a game against Nexus, correct? I'm thinking Mandibus.
Exactly. Yeah, it was the game against Nexus, and people didn't realize that Sarut would be good because Mandibus is such a naturally good counter, and you have Iron Valiant that can revenge it very easily. But if you looked at the rest of the Nexus team, it doesn't fare that well against Sarut. So it kind of put Nexus a little bit on the back burner. So I felt bringing that and playing with Sarut kind of aggressive in a way was really a good way to break that game through and make sure I could dominate and gain control of it.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, for sure. And I love Sarut. I mean, I used it in WF. Incredible Pokemon this generation. Even just the slight addition of Knockoff made that Mon infinitely better. Oh, yeah. And Swords Dance obviously big. Incredible Mon. Speaking of Mons on your team, though, is there a member that you drafted this season that surprised you in a positive way, that you went in either maybe feeling iffy about or not expecting much out of, and then they performed above and beyond your expectations?
So there's two that immediately springs to my mind. One of them is Sarut, as we just talked about. Like, I always kind of knew Sarut was like a good mon, like an okay mon, but I have always been kind of scared of having it because of its many weaknesses and the 4 times weakness to U-turn. So if you catch a stray one, you just lose half your health immediately. And it doesn't have like the speed as something like Masquerada to like avoid all that. But honestly, the natural bulk the Sarut has, and combined with its like pretty good speed tier still, just makes this, it actually takes those hit pretty well, dishes back, and it can be really good with taunt and lead seed and what actually no, I don't believe it gets lead seed. I think about it.
No, it's a great stall breaker though. I get what you mean by that. Like the taunt sets, like the taunt SD or the taunt jungle healing sets and things like that. It's an incredible stall breaker, and you can even use that 4 times weakness to your advantage. I've seen many a weakness policies Zaru's this generation with like weakness policy trailblaze. Like it is definitely something you got to think about before you just click the U-turn because it's super effective, you know.
And then the other mon is a mon that when I drafted, had a feeling was going to be good. But there was a lot of people that doubted it was going to be a good one. There was even a certain YouTuber, we're not going to name names, John Jr., that made a video about it being bad.
Oh, no.
And I think it has overperformed. It came to every game except one. It has done very well, and that is Gliscor. I love that mon. That mon is amazing. I don't care what anybody says. That mon is... It's so good. Like, I don't have a rock resist, but we have a little joke in my friend group that we have a Gliscor. That's a rock resist.
It's just about to resist to anything besides water and ice. To be honest,
yeah, exactly.
So that is fair.
So yeah, Gliscor, like, I had my small doubts, but I believed in him, and he's overperformed. So Gliscor is also a bond that's really surprised me in a good way.
Oh, 100%. That might be a John Jr. problem. Me and John argue about that all the time, about him thinking Gliscor is bad. And, like, obviously losing Roost is tough, but, like, getting Spikes was also fucking massive for it. Spikes being the better hazard in a ton of matchups, and, oh, man, Gliscor's incredible. So it definitely popped off for you this season, too. It was really cool. I love the Double Dance set earlier this season. That was really sick. That was really cool to see.
Yeah.
Now, opposite side, because even in seasons where, say, you win the championship and you go, 12-0 total, there's always going to be members in your team like, man, this mod sucked. I did not enjoy using this thing. I won a BBL championship last gen with Gen 8 Regieleki. I hated him, but we won the championship. Is there any mods on your team right now that you've been like, this thing's kind of disappointing. It wasn't as good as I thought. It's pretty mid. Anything? It doesn't have to necessarily be terrible, but like anything that didn't meet your expectations.
So there's 2 mons I think about, and one of them is the obvious one. I think if anyone has watched my game, they know which one it is. The other one is probably going to come as a surprise. So the first one is, of course, Baxcalibur.
Yep.
I think Baxcalibur without Terra is not a round 1 pick. After having now used it, it's really difficult to really get going and get in and do what it needs to do. Because either you have to run heavy-duty boots, so you lose out on a lot of damage, you lose like loaded dice, so you can't rely on icicle speed or something like that, or you have to run a boosting item, but then you're very weak to hazards, and it's really difficult to kind of balance that with Baxcalibur, I feel like. The
defensive typing is also really, really revengeable. There's a lot of vacuum wave that came back in the DLC too, so there's plenty of times where I'm sure you've like said like, okay, if I get up a DD, even if rocks are up, I can go ahead and icicle sphere, but if you take rocks plus 1 attack, you're getting revenge by one of the 73 vacuum wave mons, the mock punches that are everywhere. In general, Gen 9 has a ton of priority, and I feel like people really value it when drafting because of all of like the Mickey Terra setup that's everywhere. So it makes it a lot harder for a mon like Bax to thrive. I actually agree. I am a adamant Bax hater. Obviously, if it can have Terra, it's like super broken.
Oh yeah, it is a different beast.
But it's a different beast with Terra. It's just that typing, man. It really holds it back, and it's not Curum bulky or Curum fast even to where it can really like kind of get around that. So I figured that was the one. What's the second one though?
Now, the second one is a mon I know is good, but it's just on my team, it's rarely really done a lot or like been... Like, I haven't brought it that much because whenever I need something, I feel like the other monster does it better, and that's actually Azumarill. And I fully get that Azumarill is a good mon. I've used it before and have good success with it, but on this team, I just didn't feel like I brought it that much. And if I need like a defensive wall, I prefer something like Fortress or Tauros. If I need an offensive water, I've typically leaned Intellium because of the speed. So it's like it's been difficult for me to really bring in Azu to a lot of games, I feel like.
That's interesting. I'm a big Azu lover in this gen. I think the Water Fairy typing is like super anti-meta for all the top end of the board. I do think that like offensive Azu isn't as good this gen, but I'm definitely a big Azu guy, so I'm interested in that. I guess having the other offensive water also kind of makes you a little bit more iffy on Azu, but I'm a big Rocky Helmet Rest Talk Azu guy, so that makes sense to an extent. Now, obviously, you have round 1 of playoffs. You're going up against Uzi. let's talk the matchup a little bit. I think it's actually pretty even, but in this earlier part of the video, right before this interview, I said I actually think it kind of leans in Uzi's favor on paper. Do you feel the same? Do you have any insights you can give us on your build or how you approach the matchup or anything you want to give us to kind of get us into the mind of GentlemanThomas preparing for round 1?
So, initially, when you said the whole Uzi had the favorable matchup, I actually hadn't looked like in depth that much about the matchup because you said it a day ago, I think it was, or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't build later that day, and holy hell, you were correct. I was like, oh my god, what do I do here? What do I do? So the way I often build, and it's probably actually kind of opposite to a lot of players, is I think very defensively. I like, okay, how do I check this? How do I check this? How do I check this? And can I get a mon that can maybe do multiples so I don't have to take on too many spots?
I think your team also kind of leans in a more defensive route when it comes to that. Like, you have a lot of, again, offense thrives in Gen 9, but I think your team does lean a little bit more balance oriented. So I think that's definitely a fair way to approach it.
But yeah, that's typically how I see it. And here with this matchup, I definitely looked at like Great Tusk, and I was like, dual stab ice spin. I kind of just it kind of does a lot, So it's like I was like, okay, how do I get around this? Well, I'll reveal one set because Owen said this video is going to go up after Uzi and I have most likely played. I'm running a max defense, max special attack fortress with Giga Drain. Literally for Great Tusk.
Oh, huge. The Giga Drain. That probably does a clean like 35-40 too, huh? You definitely 1v1 it.
40 to 48.
Oh,
if he's like no spit F. Yeah.
Interesting. I definitely think it's going to be offensive here too. That was something I definitely thought. So I could definitely see it. Yeah, it was... For me, when I saw the matchup, I said, oh my god. And every matchup that Uzi has had that's good is kind of like that overload principle, right? If one of his grounds has a good matchup, the other one does. Or even if one of them has a mediocre matchup, he can use one to force in the ground check to open up for the other one. So like that combination of Tusk Luna is going to be pretty scary for you. But I do think that you definitely have some really cool offensive tools. It's definitely not an unwinnable matchup. There's been some matchups I've looked at this season where I'm like, you're screwed, buddy. But like this one, it's definitely close. It's just going to be, you're going to have to maneuver around his offense very, very particular because between Tusk, Luna, and then even like Cerulege is really, really good into you. So like there's a lot of really scary things. But it's definitely very, very possible. Now, to end it off, obviously, I don't think I'm going to do multiple interviews with the same coaches, so even if you move on to semis, which I hope you're winning, but even if you move on to semis, I'll probably do a different person next week. So do you have any shout outs or final words for this season of the SPL? Any final closing remarks that you want to give before you go play your match?
Alright, so I will start by saying, if you're going to give some shout outs, I want to shout out to my friends that helped me in my front office. Quinn, Dell has come in and helped me a little bit, like D-Double. It's a guy named Thunderbuck has helped me a lot. It's J Riggy helps me every now and then. We have a guy named Seanster as well, Sean Stirs, because there's an S at the end.
Oh, that's my goat. I love Sean.
Yeah. So he helps me. I have like this group of friends that I've kind of pulled in, and like they're basically my front office now.
Yeah.
And like we banter, we go through the sets. They help me mark and whatnot. And without them, I wouldn't have been doing as well as I did this season. Like they're the goats. I freaking love them.
There you go.
And then my other thing is I have really enjoyed my time in SPL. If they ever want me back, of course I would always come back. But also just this season it's been something special to me because. Like, going in as, like, the most unknown guy, by far, I think. I was really, really nervous on how this is going to be, both from, like, the fans' perspective, but also, like, how Joey and Shuggle and Nexus and all them, how they're going to be, like, towards me. But it feels like I've known them for, like, years now. Like, I don't know what it is. They've been so good at, like, making sure that you feel welcome. And the fans in the server are also amazing. Like, they're really nice to talk to. So I really enjoyed my time in SPL.
Oh yeah, no, definitely a really, really nice group of guys, and the server itself has been really nice. I think they were talking about it before, but like I know with the bigger leagues stuff like that, like way back in the day, there was like a lot of bigger guys didn't really want to play anymore because the average draft league fan loved to kind of backseat game in the comments. But I haven't really noticed that as much this season, or really in general, since like draft has kind of had its like resurgence in the last little bit. So it's definitely been really cool to see, and it's been really cool to see you pop off. I'm sure that, again, as the unknown guy, as the underdog, not necessarily based on like your prior play. Obviously, you've done great this generation everywhere you've played, but you come in with all the big guys and you have a great season. It's been really cool to watch and see you pop off and do so well. So I'm definitely happy for you. I hope you pull it out. Again, I had to pick Uzi in the pick'ems because it's looking rough on paper for you, bro. But I think you definitely, this one's one of the more even matchups in playoffs, so I think this one will be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to watching it. So, yeah, thank you for joining me, and good luck in your game.
Thank you.
Alrighty, guys, and that is SPL draft notes for round 1. Let me know who you guys think will win each of these round 1 games in playoffs in the comments below. Let me know what game you guys are most excited for, and let me know who you want to hear an interview from next week. I definitely want to do one per week, and yeah, I want to get Thomas his interview this week, but if you guys have any ideas on who you want to hear specifically from next week after you see who wins the games, obviously, don't suggest someone who doesn't win. Yeah, let me know, and I'll try and reach out to him and get an interview going. Again, drop a like if you enjoyed, sub if you're new, and yeah, pretty easy stuff. I will see you guys next time. Later.